Hello and welcome to Gatecrashers. Today we're looking at Gate 53, the gate of beginnings, new cycles, and the pressure to get something going. In this episode, we explore the energy through the character Og. This series of Gatecrashers brings the human design gates to life through story, through patterns, through lived experience. And in Gate 53, we explore the pressure to begin a new cycle. It's a format energy. It sets everything else in motion. Yeah, what it means to be a starter in a world that celebrates finishers. If you're studying human design or just exploring your own chart, maybe this story will help you recognize the energy in real life. In the beginning, there was Og. Not metaphorically, not as a way of saying something poetic about the nature of existence, but literally, actually, in the beginning, before anything else had got around to existing, there was Og. Og was not, at this point, doing very much. There was nothing to do very much with. The void is, as voids go, relatively lacking in options. Og sat in it, to the extent that sitting was a concept, which it wasn't yet, but Og would get round to that. And Og felt the pressure building. This was not unusual. The pressure always built. It had always built insofar as always actually meant anything before time existed, which it didn't yet either. But Og was dealing with a fairly significant backlog of concepts that hadn't yet been invented, and the pressure Og was feeling was not helping. The pressure, for those of you keeping notes, lived in what would one day be called the root center. Format energy, which means it doesn't just sit there politely like a normal pressure, it sets the rhythm, the pace for everything. It was the pressure that, once released, would start the entire sensing circuit, getting it moving. Every experience ever had, every cycle ever run, every beginning that ever began, all of it waiting, coiled in Og. The pressure built and built. And then, as it always did, and as it always will, as it could only ever do, it went. And it went bang. And everything happened all at once. Light, which was very surprised to exist. Matter, which immediately started arguing with antimatter about who had been there first. Hydrogen, which just got on with it. Billions of years of cooling, coalescing, forming, stars being born and dying in a spectacular fashion, planets assembling themselves with the patient determination of things that have no concept of time and therefore no reason to hurry. Eventually, oceans, lakes, then something wriggling in the oceans that would, given sufficient time and pressure of its own, become everything else. Og watched none of this. By the time Light had finished being surprised, Og was back in the void. The pressure was already building again. And that's the thing about Gate 53. This enthusiastic literature kind of glosses over. The gate of beginnings is exactly that. Beginnings, plural, relentless, each one complete in itself. None of them followed through to the end. And that's not a failure of character, it's the mechanics. Gate 53 sits in the root center and connects upward to Gate 42 in the sacral, the gate of growth, the energy for completion, the tenacity to see a cycle through to its natural end. Together they form the channel of maturation. cycles beginning and ending. But Og doesn't have gate 42. Og has never had gate 42. Og, if anything, had very strong feelings about gate 42, most of them in the category of, yeah, well, it's all right for some. Gate 42 gets to stay. Gate 42 gets to watch the thing unfold and be there when the single-celled organism becomes a fish, becomes a lizard, becomes something that will one day invent the concept of a relaxing Sunday morning. Gate 42 gets the whole story. Og gets the first word and back to the void. In Og's opinion, this is not a very satisfying arrangement. Although this is what Og has come to understand in the immeasurable time between beginnings, sitting with the pressure and the void and the slowly accumulating evidence of an existence devoted entirely to starting things. Nothing happens without the start. Not one single thing. All of Gate 42's beautiful completion, all of the maturation, all of the wood saws, you might not be able to hear that, all the growth, the long cycles of experience, and a collective sensing circuit that exists to provide. None of it, not one moment, happens without Og. The fish does not become a lizard. The lizard does not become the thing with Sundays. The universe does not exist without Og, without this particular pressure, without the former energy that sets every cycle moving. There is just the void, which Og knows better than anyone. I hope you heard all of that over the soaring of the house building next door. And so Og sits and feels the pressure build, and at the correct moment, and not a moment before, and not from panic or restlessness or the not self version of this energy that gets things going wildly and without any timing at all, simply because the pressure is too unbearable to wait, but at the correct moment, when the cycle's time has genuinely come, Og goes bang. And somewhere, something begins that has never existed before. Every story you have ever loved, ever loved, was started by an Og. Every project that changed your life, every relationship that remade you, every morning you woke up and something was different. An Og was there at the beginning of it, feeling the pressure build, waiting for the right moment, and then simply, irrevocably going. You may have an Og in your life. They are the person who responds to something and says, right, we're doing this, and somehow means it in a way that makes it true. And they don't always finish things. They're often already thinking about the next beginning before the current one has found its feet. They might have, if you look around their house, a number of projects in various states of early enthusiasm. This is not a character flaw. This is Gate 53 doing exactly what it's designed to do, sparking the cycle, providing the fuel, handing the whole glorious thing to the rest of the universe to run with. Maybe you feel the Og energy in yourself, but without the timing. Pressure that builds and builds and builds and sends you sideways into starting something new before the last thing is ready, before the cycle is correct, before the moment has actually come. That's the void talking. That's the pressure without the clarity of when. The not self of 53 starts recklessly, changes course constantly, leaves a trail of abandoned beginnings that never quite ignite. The gift of 53 knows, in the body, not the head, when the time has come, and it waits. Og is back in the void now. The pressure is building, and something extraordinary is about to begin. Thank you for joining me on this episode of Gatecrashers. I hope, as always, that you are being good to yourself, loving yourself through all the craziness we find in our designs, all the conundrums and the complexities that are there. There's no such thing as a simple design, I think. So until next time, when we meet our next gate, go gently.